Let's move on to the Chancellor's Report. We are at 2.12.
Thank you so much. Tonight we're going to have our president's reports, and they will be each supplementing their reports with an enrollment update and where we are in the current period. And then after they've done their report, I will provide a summary statement. And we're going to start with Berkeley City College tonight.
And may I ask if you guys want me to share your report, just give me a heads up and I'll do so.
Thank you very much, Maisha. Good evening, members of the Board of Trustees, fellow colleagues, and all of our community members and participants. I'm excited to, I don't know why, I was really excited for the board meeting today. I feel like in the third week of the semester, there's a lot of energy. And really, I think with my opening comment, we've been receiving daily announcements through the PCCD announcement, daily messages in honor of Black History Month, where we have learned about scientists and artists and activists and economists, from George Carruthers to Jane Matilda Boleyn, Destiny Muhammad, Amanda Gorman. And I was really honored to learn that our very own colleague and classified professional, Ramona Butler, who oversees our EOPS care program at Berkeley City College, is the one who's helping to provide this information. And I think that an opportunity to highlight and honor the way that all of our colleagues contribute, but especially from the ranks of our classified professionals, found them to be these hidden gems of reminders, and in communications that I've had with Ramona, being able to share that it shouldn't just be during Black History Month, that it should just be the history that we all must know and in our ways. So I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge Ramona and her contributions, not just to Berkeley City College, but to our entire district. And that maybe now when you get tomorrow's message, you'll know that there's a level of intention that's coming from one of our very own colleagues to share some learnings with us. I also, in a moment, I'm going to share an enrollment data slide. And I want to acknowledge that in theory, I feel like I want to share 4, but I'm going to stay true that there is just 1. And I provide some comments to that. So I'm going to share the screen this evening here and offer some context. So what you have before you for Berkeley City College, and certainly we've had President Shanowski and our District Academic Senate President have referred to what's going on in terms of declining enrollment. So what I wanted to take the opportunity to share here is where Berkeley City College stands in comparison at this point in the semester compared to last year at this point in time. For context, our FTES is the full-time equivalent student, and you'll see here that the target that Berkeley City has is 1,462, meaning that Berkeley City College will contribute to our overall, the overall district FTES target by this amount. As of today, our actual and post-census date is 1,255. So you can see that we are still short from our target. But on the flip side, we're at 86% of the FTS target compared to 91% last year. I also want to take a moment to just acknowledge that you'll see where we are in terms of enrollment. And I'm gonna pull us down to this part of the conversation for enrollment and unduplicated headcount, because that will make some of these higher numbers in a little bit more context. So you'll see that at spring 2021, we have 6,661 students as of today, unduplicated headcount. At this point last year, we had 6,593. So on one metric, we do have an increase of headcount of students, but what we're seeing is the enrollment. They're just not enrolling in as many units. And for a whole host of reasons, starting with COVID-19 and ending with virtual learning and maybe a little bit of national racial and civic unrest, there's a lot of stressors that are going on for students at this time. So with these numbers wanting to provide, we have more students, they're enrolling in less classes. This starts to impact why we're seeing some of our declines in terms of full-time equivalent students, because they're just not enrolling in as many units. And that then leads to addressing the deficits that we're seeing in terms of meeting our target. We also see that for Berkeley City College, we've seen a decline in our non-resident full-time equivalent students, and that has much to do with what was a slightly growing international student population for Berkeley City College over the last couple years, has been impacted by larger items connected in a lot of ways to the United States legislation and travel bans and so forth. Conversation, we've heard some of our colleagues speak to the FTEF, full-time equivalent faculty allocation. So for Berkeley City College, last year we had an allocation of 101, this year at 96. You'll see here where we showed our full-time equivalent actual, meaning how many faculty we actually had on the schedule. And we're holding here for excluding dual enrollment, because we actually, Berkeley City College has seen an exponential growth in dual enrollment, which has supported the fact that we've not experienced as deep of declines. Want to note here our productivity. We talk a lot about that in terms of efficiency. And last year at this point in time, we were at 14.8. Right now we are at 13.4. And there are a couple of things that lead to this. During this pandemic, we've agreed and are supporting the class cap size is 32. When prior to COVID-19, online courses were often ones where some faculty would elect to carry more students. So we're seeing the impact of just fewer students and possible cap size. You can see here that we are declining our number, we've reduced our number of sections that were offered, and therefore we're seeing here now the census. So wanted to provide a little bit of an in-depth context to the data that you see in front of you. Some high-level things at the bottom. We've seen an increase in our student population demographics that are 16 to 18, and that's specifically to our dual enrollment growth and a lot of efforts behind that, and our 35 to 54-year-old student population. Slight increase in females. I think this is a good sign of slightly more California residents, more part-time, but then that leads to the flip side of fewer full-time students, fewer international, fewer males, and a decline in the 19 to 24-year-old group. Now, what I want to also provide in just my closing comments here is some context to the data. And what that shows is for dual enrollments especially, there are particular colleagues that I want to make a moment to highlight, because a lot of work is going into our enrollment management strategies, and specifically amongst the ranks of our classified professionals and some of our faculty. So Gail Pendleton and Hui Hyun, who are some of our classified professionals that are really working on the enrollment portion, the outreach, the connecting with local community students to access Berkeley City College. Dri Regalado and Skylar Barton for intentional curriculum coordination, and the ongoing work that's happening right now with the district and the college for increasing our CCAP, or our career and college pathways. And we have those with Berkeley, with Albany, and Emory. And so we're hoping to see continued growth in dual enrollment. And I do want to note, in case members of the board are interested, I think that we should be paying attention to some of the bills that are coming forth. So Assembly Bill 102, sponsored by Holden, is trying to eliminate the 2027 sunset date for CCAPs. And that's something that would greatly benefit our district. So paying attention to piece of legislation related to that, as well as paying attention to legislation that impacts transfer pathways. So we're paying close attention to the trailer bills from the governor's budget proposal, specifically to the one that's asking for California community colleges to partner more intentionally with both the CSUs and the UCs to increase the associate degrees for transfer pathways. And that's important because right now we do have ADT pathways, but there's a select number in particular programs. And the trailer bill is basically asking to broaden that scope and guarantee an articulation from the community college to the four-year institutions. And honestly, our colleague, Andrea Williams, who's the coordinator of the Career and Transfer Center, I learned that she herself hosted 54 workshops last fall to, I'm going to stop screen share, to support students in transfer. It's definitely a pathway that Berkeley City College has a lot of efforts around. Our data show that students are transferring at higher rates, but nonetheless, that's all within the context of trying to provide high quality academic and student support services during this virtual environment. So with that, I'm going to conclude my comments and just end with really highlighting that the intentionality around enrollment management is not just about FTES and FTEF. It's really focused on completion. And I believe that everyone is coming to the table so that we can support students from access to completion. And we look forward to being good partners with all of the colleges and our district colleagues to continue to make Peralta the place where students want to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Garcia. No, I'm sorry. So I would like to ask that we hold the questions for the presidents until all the presidents have completed their reports. And if that's okay, we would move to Dr. Jones, the president at College of Alameda.
Good evening, President Reese, trustees, Chancellor Walter, colleague, and guests. I'm pleased to provide a brief report on our enrollment and enrollment management strategies, as well as share with you a few highlights of the good work and accomplishment being done at the College of Alameda. The college has an annual FTS target for 2021 academic year of 3,003 FTS. 300 is allocated to the summer, 1,351 for the fall and spring terms. We fell short of our summer target by 8 and fall target by 197 FTS. In an effort to mitigate the continued decline in enrollment experienced in the fall, largely fueled by the pandemic, College of Alameda has been engaged in comprehensive and intentional efforts to provide student-centered support and services, as well as expanded course offering to minimize FTS shortfalls. These efforts include targeted marketing and outreach, expansion of dual enrollment, 24/7 financial aid support, establishing a call center, among other strategies. Because of these efforts, we are now projecting that the spring FTS shortfall will be 138, which would be an improvement of 30% over the fall actual FTS production. I would like to thank our dedicated faculty, staff, and administrators for their creativity, compassion, and adaptability. Next, the College of Alameda's Aviation Maintenance Technician Program, in partnership with Oakland Aviation Museum and local high school and industry partners, will be applying for a Federal Aviation Administration grant, which is due March 22nd. Grant awards will range from $25,000 to $500,000. Lastly, the College of Alameda has been ranked in the top 50 of best associate degrees in psychology program by Intelligent.com. Their comprehensive research guide is based on assessment of nearly 2,300 accredited colleges and universities. Programs are evaluated based on curriculum quality, graduation rates, reputation, and postgraduate employment. COA's psychology for transfer associate degree was ranked as the best in the area of mindfulness training. Congratulations to our outstanding faculty, Professor Robert Brem, Elham Chisti, Sarah Peterson Gouda, and Bishop Scott. That ends my report. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. And we'll move on then to Dr. Rudy Besikof from Laney College. Rudy, I would imagine you have to unmute. Is he not here? Where is he? Well,
He was here.
Here a second ago.
yeah.
Looks like he has fallen off. Let me see if he's contacted.
Oh, that's internal, not external. We lost him.
Okay. Well, we'll try to find him and bring him back in a moment. So we'll go ahead with Dr. Johnson at Merritt College.
Okay. Can everyone see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'll let that wash over you for a second, the special graphic there. It took a lot of work. So good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to provide an enrollment overview of for Merritt College. So the good thing about going later is that I let my other presidents do a lot of the heavy lifting. But what you're about to see is 3 small slides, then and sticking to the spirit of one larger slide. You see it at the end. But to give you, what I did was I wanted to provide kind of a more panoptic view of 2019, 2020, to give you a sense of where we are, where we were, where we are now, where we're going. So as you can see, in the summer of 19 and fall of 19, we actually exceeded our FTS target for resident students. We were 108% of the target for the summer, 100% for fall, and we were still at 92% for spring 20, which we all know was the beginning of the pandemic. Many of those students had already enrolled, and we were able to keep many of them through the census date. So we were 97.4% of our target, which was very, very good. We also were able to maintain a productivity for that year of 15.46, which was very, very strong. Not at 17.5, obviously, which is the goal, but very strong, strongest in the district. And we did it while being below our allocation, FCF allocation, by about 9 FTEF, so about $450,000 savings to the district. So 2021 tells a bit of a different story. Summer 20, FTS target still 97.83%. Fall dropped to 84.73, and right now you see that we're only at 76.3% of our target. Now, one thing, and if you notice the actual FTES, it's nearly 400 FTES below. Now, one thing to note, and this is true actually for all of the colleges, the FTES number should increase. It's not going to be a dramatic increase of 200 or 300 FTES, but Merritt has 86 late start courses. So, and not all of those courses are full, obviously. So our expectations that students enroll in classes that don't begin until March, that you're going to see that FTES number come up. We ended up expending about 4 FTEF over our allocation for spring. So we are offering more classes than we were actually allocated. That's balanced out by the fact that we were under allocation for fall 2020. So you see for the year right now, we're about 2 FTEF under our allocation. And just looking forward to next year and like what the targets are. So we have a total FTES target of 3363. We allotted allocated 211.4 FTEF to make that. I'm confident that we will reach this FTS target because it is even below the target for 2021. And my hope is that by doing a few things in terms of strengthening our enrollment, one of which, the main thing, very excited. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but we did at Merritt College finish up the process of screening a dean of enrollment services. This is not, I want to be very clear, not adding an additional administrative position. It's actually we moved away from the dean of special program and grants and decided that this was a more pressing need. So having this dean of enrollment services is going to be big for us because it's going to really help students get from being interested in Merritt to applying to Merritt to actually enrolling in Merritt and then persisting through Merritt. We're finding, our research has shown that we have a lot of interest in Merritt College, but somewhere along the way, the students that doesn't translate to students actually going through the matriculation process. We also feel that the Dean of Enrollment Services is going to really provide this bridge, going to bridge the gap between A&R and financial aid. So those are just some of the things that we expect from that position. Continue to grow our dual enrollment and just really work on this, as President Garcia noted, really work on the retention aspect. It's not just about getting the students in, but it's being able to keep them here through the semester and persisting from term to term. So I will just say too, in the interest of time, I'll cut my President's Report short, but I wanted to note two things for Merritt College. We're really pleased to have the opportunity to partner with Ingenesis, which we know is the firm with whom we are contracting to provide the COVID-19 screening services. In order to effectively assess the health and welfare of our students, we need very qualified individuals that have the training, the skills, the experience, the knowledge to do that. And to have the opportunity to pull from our student ranks is big for us. So in order to fill those posts, we're drawing students from our nursing and medical assisting program, which is really critical for two reasons. Number one, it's offering a source of employment to our students, keeping it in the community. So that's really big. And the second thing is these students are also able to use this work experience to meet their clinical program requirements. So our screening facility is going to be in the Huey P. Newton room, student lounge in the R building. And we're really excited about that. And finally, given who we are at Merritt, our history and our cultural significance, and the fact that we're into February, I just wanted to say share some quick thoughts about Black History Month and just a little history. Carter G. Woodson was the father of Black History Month. He's the second African-American to earn a PhD from Harvard, Du Bois being the first. And he was also the founder of the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, and one of my heroes. I just want to say that dispel, because I hear something, it sounds kind of funny, but I have to dispel a rumor or a wives' tale that February is not Black History Month because it's the shortest month. So we need to stop saying that. February is Black History Month. It was conceived as Negro History Week initially to coincide with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. So with that said, I invite you to check out our student activities and campus life page on the Merritt website to learn more about the activities and events that we're having throughout the month. I see we have Rudy back, so I'll pass it on to President Besikof.
Thank you, President Johnson. I'll go ahead and begin with my President's Report this evening and then shift to an enrollment update for Laney College. First of all, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the 40 Laney staff members in 16 different areas of the college who came together on the 23rd and the 30th for our one-stop Saturday events. And special thanks to just our faculty who came out, as well as our leadership and student services and our classified professionals who provided incredible support, along with the counselors and other colleagues that were on hand. This was a virtual event, and we certainly did see an increase in terms of our attendance. And I'll be speaking to that a little bit later when I get into my enrollment management report. You know, obviously we're at community college, and this is a great opportunity to celebrate students. And I would actually like to spotlight Jasmine Au from our Gateway to College program, who was selected as a 2021 Dream Scholar. Jasmine is a senior who will be transferring directly to the University of Hawaii, Honolulu, as an oceanography transfer, and really is a great success story of our Gateway to College program. In fact, the director, William Ochoa, I'm quoting him here, says that she is breaking down barriers as to what a dually enrolled student can obtain through her tenure here at our program. If you would like further information about achieving the dream, it is in your board report, including dates of the ATD 2021 virtual conference from the 16th to the 19th. Also, staying on the theme of achievement, I would like to extend heartfelt congratulations to Dr. Meryl Siegel, faculty in the English department, for the release of a book that she co-edited through Michigan Press, entitled Empowering the Community College First Year Composition Teacher, Pedagogies and Policies. I had the pleasure to talk with Meryl earlier today, and she wanted to be sure to share with everybody in attendance tonight that if you actually access the online version of her book, the first chapter is free of charge. So I think that's something that's great, and we extend our congratulations to Meryl. Also, as promised in the last page of your board report this evening, I've provided a list of all of the Asian Pacific Islander community leaders, both business and community level supports to residents of our community with whom we have directly collaborated with. And I encourage you to take a moment and peruse that list. And it really, as I previously stated, is a testament to a lot of the great work that colleagues came together and participated in at Laney College. And my thanks especially goes to Dr. David Lee and to Arlene Lontock, who did a lot of the work in bringing a lot of these folks together. And I'll be touching on that in my enrollment report as well. So transitioning now to my enrollment report, I'd like to go ahead and share my screen. So I'm going to be providing a bit of context to my report this evening. And well, my apologies. You know what, for some reason, I'm not able to play my first slide, so I'll just go with this format. So I think tonight, and I'll be talking a little bit more about the more quantitative numbers of our enrollment report in a moment, but enrollment at Laney College has been down this year. As of our snapshot right now, enrollments are down 24.7% from where they were in spring 2020. And to say that the pandemic has been a disruption to Laney College is an understatement. As we entered the kind of pre-pandemic stages, we were really taking some steps forward, and you can see them on the left side of this slide. We hit some milestones, including hitting enrollment targets, and we did a number of things. And even, despite our high numbers of labs, we actually had a semester where we led the district in productivity, and which was something of an accomplishment, and a lot of steps moving forward that will continue. But in terms of this semester and really the challenges we've had, I'd like to put some of what's been happening into context for you. A year ago, we had 3 classes in our entire schedule with a class cap of 20 or lower. This now, because of our need to have a safe campus, to have safe lab classes, we've had 40 classes capped below at 20 or lower. And so I think that right there, that kind of is a window into the challenges that we've had. But it doesn't just stop there with class numbers. In a lot of cases in our disciplines, just because of the limitations that have been there, they have not been able to offer the full complement of courses. And in fact, we had one discipline, welding, that in the fall realized that because of the challenges they had, that they would not offer welding at all. And that was a lot of what was there, just because of the difficulties. This also led, some of these decisions led to the canceling of a full cohort's worth of instruction for one semester. And that was another challenge as well, just due to low numbers and other difficulties that we encountered. And of course, when we look at challenges of a college, it's about the challenges of our students. And within it, we've certainly seen the needs for access to technology, as well as basic needs and securities. And I did speak earlier to the increase in our support events we had with our One-Stop Saturdays. But honestly, looking at our One-Stop Saturday from fall to spring, while it was an increase, if you look at it from spring to spring, when we had the benefit of a campus, our turnout compared to a year ago was actually less than half. So as you can see, this for a college that has a number of on-campus offerings and a burgeoning athletics program, you can see that the reality of trying to hold classes with a limited campus has really been a challenge. But you know what? Life is not about staying on your problems. It's about talking about solutions. It's about talking about the things that we needed to do. One of the things that we've done throughout is we've preserved our capstone courses, especially in the spring. And when I say a capstone course, I mean that last course that gets you to a degree or a certificate or to transfer. There were a number of times when we had low enrolled courses that we did not cancel for this very reason. We have continued our efforts to advertise, and our public information officer has followed our marketing plan that's in our strategic enrollment plan, and has really advertised in a number of venues that I put before you. In addition to that, working in collaboration with some of our grant funds for career and technical education, as well as our Anna Peasy grant that I've shared about earlier, we've promoted our programs in multiple languages. And I mentioned earlier about our outreach to the API community. But one of the next steps that we need to take is to also reach out to our African American community leaders, and also to our Latinx community leaders. We are so close. We are within less than 1% of being eligible to apply for Hispanic Serving Institution designation. And things like that don't just mean what you might think about, but they mean things like facilities. They mean things like equipment. They mean those types of assistance from the Department of Education. We have increased our dual enrollment participation. We now offer the highest percentage or highest amount of dual enrollment, and considering we're the largest college in the district, that's now commensurate, I believe, with our other community colleges. We continue our guided pathways investment, and also our continuing support of students and their needs, be it tutoring or counseling. As we move forward, and as we've recognized that our low demand was there, to preserve a number of our low demand courses, we've actually used CARES funding that we marked as part of our plan. And with the FTEF that we now have available to us, we are going to revisit our waiting lists from the beginning of the semester and add to our late starting courses. And past semesters data has told us that late starting online classes in the spring are something that's of high demand for students. With all of these issues that we've actually had a few success stories. We've had disciplines that in this online environment realize that this increased presence is actually great for them. And as I mentioned lastly, one of the greatest pieces of collaborative work that we've done so far is work to strengthening our relationships with community leaders. And I'd like to just show you this last slide and pause for a moment, just to show the magnitude of the work we've done reaching out to our Asian Pacific Islander partners in the community. You see all of these, and you see a lot of face-to-face meetings that have taken place, and you also see some meet and greet events that we've done as well. Because we have opted to fund some of our low enrolled courses with CARES funding, there has been some transition in terms of inputting that data. So the exact enrollment data that my colleagues provided tonight as of this point is not true to what Laney is doing. That being said, once we do have those corrections there, I will be disseminating those to the Chancellor to communicate to the board. This concludes my report.
Okay. Thank you, Presidents, for your reports. I do apologize for the lack of data for Laney College, and hopefully we'll have that for you, board members, next time we come together. So I'll just put a few remarks to the trustees and Vice President Ewan and President Reese, community members, colleagues, friends, family, and all who are watching and participating with us at Peralta. I just want to echo the importance that we need to place on enrollment management as a strategic direction. As was mentioned earlier, with our leadership from District Academic Senate and the Peralta Federation of Teachers, it's not a small thing for us. It is a huge thing. If you don't mind me using the word thing, it is an important strategic initiative that we all need to embrace to halt the downward trend in enrollment. And we've seen that downward trend for a number of years pre-COVID. So there are things that we need to do, ways that we need to partner and communicate, as well as come together and generate ideas and reward some innovation, look at partnerships as we've talked about. And in some cases, I've already begun making those inroads to working with partnerships to bring or reignite programs. But I think we really do, it would really be important for us to, as they say, imagine big change, imagine ways in which we can increase interest, retention, and graduation in our colleges in a way that we haven't done before. I really do believe that these small incremental changes are important, but also really thinking about ways that we can change the way we do business and not have it be business as usual. So we are working on that across the district with the colleges, and you'll hear more about that as we go forward. And I want to thank the District Academic Senate and the Federation of Teachers for their interest in this area, because, you know, if we don't have students, we don't have a reason to be. So I'll leave that there for your digestion, if you will. And then I also want to just mention briefly the accreditation response that we received. I have to say that I really was hoping for a response that would move the district away from its current accreditation status. But at the same time, the decision of the commission is the decision that the commission made. And what they said was that they were going to defer any action until the conclusion of their June meeting. So we are preparing with keeping the high watch and holding faith and doing all of the actual work that needs to be done to be prepared for the site visit, the virtual site visit, which is happening March 1 through 4 here in less than a month. So we are really working diligently. We're not letting anything deter us. And in fact, while we would have liked to have a different outcome perhaps from the site visit for the special reports, we're okay with the idea that they deferred because we needed to have our audit report finished. It's not finished yet. One of the reasons, well, the reason it isn't finished is because of the executive order from the state chancellor that allowed districts to complete their audit on February the 28th, which we're in process of doing. And we should be right on time with that completion. So as I said, we're all moving forward. We're all keeping our eye on the prize, as I've heard one of my colleagues say, and we're working together to make sure that we achieve that outcome, which is to meet the accreditation standards so that we can all move off of probation. And so with that, the only other thing I would like to do is just again reiterate that we are working diligently with our payment provider to make our students whole, to ensure that they're able to pay their fees or enroll without any obstacles when it comes to working with our vendor and moving forward with that. So that'll conclude my remarks for this evening, and I would turn it back over to you, President Reese, and I'd like to thank everybody for their patience in listening to these reports.
Thank you, Chancellor. Do I have any questions from any of the trustees that you'd like to pose to either the Chancellor or the Presidents? I do not see any hands. Nikki, Trustee Gonzalez-Huron.
Thank you. And thank you very much for the reports. I think we all understand that these are extraordinary times and that any data that we get has to be seen potentially as a huge aberration just because of the COVID, et cetera. And I think it would probably be useful at some point to have a deeper board workshop on this so that we could understand strategically what we're doing here. What I'm seeing is that for at least 10 years, we've had a productivity goal of 17.5. In my experience, we never hit that productivity goal. And so and this is just an example, we're setting ourselves up, I think, for perennial failure. We say, we're going to hit this goal, and then we never do. And then we try to cut classes and then make the enrollment bigger so that we can somehow hit that goal. And it seems like, well, let me just say it this way. I don't understand the strategy. I don't understand the strategy that says, oh, well, we're going to hit that goal and we're going to cut our way out of this deficit. And so what I kind of want us to understand is, what is that bigger strategy? How does it fit then with a student success and equity strategy? Because in my experience, bigger classes are conversely related to more intensive efforts to meet the needs of those students who are most disadvantaged. And so we're now at loggerheads, but with the student-centered funding formula, if we can call it that, we now have another set of categories that we're supposed to be hitting in terms of budgetary priorities, et cetera. So I think at some point we need a bigger strategic discussion that should include kind of like, here, let's start over. We've been failing at trying to hit our enrollment targets for 10 years. How do we redo this? And maybe we need a different approach entirely. So I genuinely appreciate the reports. I think you're struggling under enormously difficult circumstances. I think everybody is. And so whatever happens right now, I'm just like, all right, whatever, this is a one-off year, but it's not a one-off decade. And I think that we need to just rethink a lot of this, and we need all hands on deck to do that. I'll just say the last thing. I appreciate the attention up at Merritt to bringing on somebody specifically to focus on enrollment management. I don't know that person needs to be a dean, but I really appreciate the attention to it. And I don't think anybody, anyway, let me just stop. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Trustee Handy. Trustee Handy, do I see your hand up?
Yeah. I'm sorry. This ThinkPad, the ThinkPad, the keys don't work when you want them to.
There you go, we see you.
So my question, I have a couple of questions for you. Thank you all for the reports. I really, at this time during COVID, what we're most interested in is data. And thank you for giving us that. And I'd also, I see how you broke it down by age categories, but for the next ones, could you possibly also break it down by race? We need to know how we're doing in our different populations and how they're faring through this this COVID piece, because we know that Black and brown populations tend to do better in group settings and in person, and we need to know how adversely affected that's happening right now. But and again, thank you for the data. The other thing is I appreciate hearing again about the late starts that happened for Merritt, and I hope that we do have considerable enrollment that happens in March. But I still have this concern, and that we are going live. Our system goes down on Wednesday and doesn't come back up until Tuesday morning. Students will not have any access to the system, will not be able to enroll. And we're already having a lot of challenges. What do you all have in place, a backup system? I've asked for it, but I have not seen it. Will students be able to register manually? Is there a plan, especially at Merritt, where we have the late start, where students will be able to communicate with you and still get registered during that time frame? That's from the 10th to the 16th. That's a lot of days in a student's life. So I'd just like to know how we're going to address that issue.
Chancellor, Presidents. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't. Chancellor, did you want me to address that, or Antoine, or who did you?
Sure, go ahead, Dr. Johnson, if you have anything. If not, then I'll come in.
Well, no, we are definitely instituting some things even in the next week in terms of on our homepage. We've borrowed from Berkeley City College a particular feature, the chat box feature, that seems to be very successful, where students can enter in questions and be able to communicate directly with a student to answer questions and help them navigate the enrollment process. For those particular days in question, I know a couple of those days are holidays, and we were strategic as a district about picking those days. I would defer to the Chancellor and to Antoine Mahele about the functionality of or the ability of students to be able to register for those late start courses during the transition. The technical aspect of it, I'm not as, I'll let them apprise you of that.
And then again, I just want to be clear. Our system is going down at 10 p.m. on Wednesday night, correct? Mm-hmm. And not coming back up until Tuesday morning. We go live Tuesday morning. That's mm-hmm. correct. So we have Thursday and Friday. Monday would be a holiday anyway. So the Thursday and Friday. And I don't know, students tend to be able to do things, well, when we have our mobile systems and stuff, that they're able to register at all time. But I'm just concerned that students are well aware that we're going to be down and what options are available to them, especially if they have some urgency involved.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
So, President Reese, would you like me to?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the students are being, and I'll ask Mark Johnson to help us with the particular communications that students are receiving. But they're receiving communications and telling them exactly what they need to do in order to make sure they're able to complete whatever task they need to complete. The system will be down on Friday, which is a holiday for everyone, Saturday, Sunday. Monday is a holiday. They're going to bring it back up on Monday evening in a testing environment. And then the whole thing will be brought back up on Tuesday. So the students are being instructed as to what they need to do between the time they are not going to be able to access the system and the time it comes up. They're getting messages and so forth. So the late start and other classes that they're going to be enrolling in, they'll still be able to enroll in, but we're asking students to pay attention to our upgrade timeline. So let me see if I can ask Mark Johnson to speak to some of the communications that are being sent to students and what they're being told to expect.
Certainly. Thank you, Chancellor. So we've been sending out email communications to students, and we've been intentionally, the late enrollment period has already concluded. So for the classes that started on January 25th, the late ads has concluded. Now we're at the point where students are enrolling for late start classes, and we're advising students that they won't be able to add those classes. They won't be able to withdraw from their current classes during the outage window between 10 o'clock tomorrow night through 6 a.m. on Tuesday.
Okay, thank you for that, Chancellor and Mark Johnson. Okay, any other questions from our trustees? I'll just add one more thing then. I think that you can all hear me okay. Thank you for these reports, definitely, because I think that it helps position us for our study session, which I believe that we're going to have on the agenda 223, that's going to be talking about a kind of analysis and comparison of COVID success rates and analysis of our enrollment before and afterwards. There are a few things that I just would like to also add as it relates to these enrollment reports, and maybe some of the information that we could bring in and have ready for us for that study session. For COA, you had spring 21. If we can ensure that we have the context so that we have the comparisons with spring 20 for BCC. And I know that you wanted to do this, President Garcia, but you didn't bring in the dual enrollment. Would love to see those numbers. And Dr. Johnson, as you had said, and actually all of you had said, the completion and the retention of the success numbers are so important. So we've got those enrollments at census, but we really need to know how our students are doing. The Laney situation with the quantitative data, of course, I'm sure that'll be taken care of by next week, so we can really deeply dive into that. And as Trustee Handy had said, it's very important for us to look at our disaggregated data to kind of see where we're losing our students and which ethnicities are actually our Black and Brown students, and at what percentages we're losing them. So those are all incredibly important. And I thank you all for the work. I thank you for this information. But if we could add all of these different contexts to help aid the conversation, I think that that will be helpful for our 223 agenda. And this is going to be a continual discussion, as you said, Chancellor, in terms of enrollment management, our direction forward, our initiatives, and kind of figuring out how we live through this and how we fix this and how we move forward. All right. I don't see any more questions. So let us move on now then to the consent calendar.